Hi, in this video, I am going to talk about the cloud design pattern ambassador pattern. It is one of the cloud design pattern. The definition of this pattern is a helper service that sends network requests to another service on behalf of a consumer service or an application. It's a service that can be thought of as an out of process proxy that is co-located with the client. If you look at this diagram here, we have our main applications and we have our remote service, and this ambassador pattern says that you can have a proxy service to access this remote service. Why do we need this? Because if you want to access this remote service directly in this main applications, then you have to have all the client code that would talk to the remote service, uh, such as you need to think about retry logic, you need to think about circuit breaking, monitoring, security, logging. A lot of things you have to take care of everything. So you have to keep all the logic over here. So uh, so sometimes it's not easy to make all the changes in this application itself. Sometimes you want to hand over everything to some other layer, or you can have a client library that have the proper code to access this remote service. uh, Providing a client library is always the best solutions, but what happens if we have different applications? um, each is written with the different kinds of language, so you have to provide client library for each application. So which means, like, if you have Java applications, then you have to provide a jar which contains all the client code, or if you have dotted applications, then you have to provide a separate client jar. So it will be a maintenance nightmare, right? So to alleviate those kind of problems, we can have a proxy service. So this main application code does not have anything about the remote service, so it has to send this request to this proxy service, and this proxy service, it is responsible for identifying the remote service location, and then hitting the service and getting the response, and then sending the response back to the application. So here this main application code is not is not going to worry about anything about the remote service, so everything is handled over here itself. So when to use this pattern? So if you have a if you have a legacy applications, and then you want to make some changes here to access the remote service, then you can think of having a proxy service. So we have less number of code, less number of changes here, and you can maintain the proxy service separately. So if there is any changes to this proxy service, you can just do it here. It will not impact the main application. So the next thing is, if you want to build a common proxy service, and that could be used in many for that could be used for multiple languages or frameworks, then you can think about this pattern. And if you want to offload cross-cutting connectivity related steps to a proxy service, yes, we can use this. Yeah. And when not to use this pattern, so having a proxy service always introduces some network overhead. So here, if you just look at this, the main application has to call this a proxy service, and the proxy service calls the remote service, so it has some network overhead. So if you have mission critical applications and you care more about the application response time, then you need to be thinking about not to use this pattern, because it will have some network overhead, but it always minimal one. But if you more care about the response time, then you should be thinking about distributing a client library to the to this to the actual application instead of having a proxy service. So here I have given an example here we have two applications. The first application is written in Java, the second application is written in .NET, and both wants to use this main service with a remote service called user service here. So instead of accessing this user service directly, we can have a proxy service. So these two applications can talk to the proxy service, and then proxy service can actually talk to the user service. So they don't need to worry about anything about the user service. They just need to send the request to proxy service, and a proxy service takes care of everything. So the proxy service does a lot of things here. So it will determine the location of the service, receive the request from the consumer service, and check the secure prequel state, measure request latency, monitoring, logging, metrics, adding tracing informations, and finally it will return the response to the client service. So it does many things here. So if there is any URL change or configuration change on the remote service, you don't need to make any changes on the application code. You just need to change only the proxy service. And if you want to customize any behavior, then you can send some requests. You can send some header informations on the HTTP servlet request, and the proxy service reads the request and then handle it appropriately. So for example, if you want to customize the retail logic behavior for only application one, then we can make use of the request header, and then we can implement that accordingly. So it's one of the nice pattern, and so there are a lot of advantages of using this pattern. So yeah, I will give the reference of this article here, and this is my blog article. I will just give these informations in my video. Please refer them, and please feel free to comment if you have any questions. Thank you.